Good evening, it's Friday the 4th of April and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Tariff chaos, Trump's Liberation Day trade policies ignite global economic fears. ICC shape up, this is a Hungarian withdrawal from International Criminal Court. Medal returned, lost gold star board reunited with soldiers' family in a historic tribute.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Aquil Qureshi.
Good evening once again. Well, President Donald Trump's sweeping new tariffs, dubbed Liberation Day tariffs, have drawn sharp criticism from world leaders who warn of severe economic repercussions and potential retaliation as well.
Europe woke up to chaos this morning as Trump announced sweeping tariffs on his largest trading partners.
Good morning.
For Ursula von der Leyen, it is a major blow to the world economy. Among Trump's announcements, a 20% tariff on all goods imported from the European Union.
I strongly believe that tariffs benefit no one. They're bad for the world economy, they hurt people, they hurt businesses.
The shockwaves of Trump's aggressivity rippled through global economies and sent Asian markets tumbling. China was particularly targeted. The additional tariffs announced by Trump mean that Chinese goods are effectively taxed at 54%. China's finance ministry spokesperson spoke of his outrage, saying it was not in line with trade rules and called it unilateral bullying. Whilst Mexico and Canada might have been exempt from this round of Trump's trade war, the countries are still reeling from the steel and aluminium tariffs imposed in March. Another 25% tariffs on cars kicked in on Thursday. As the world prepares their response, many are bracing for the devastating impact that this trade war will have on consumers worldwide.
French President Emmanuel Macron has urged the European Union to respond firmly to the US tariffs, advocating for countermeasures to protect the European Union and, of course, the economy of the European interests.
France's president is shocked by Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs. He argued that they would negatively affect consumers in the US, first and foremost.
The decision announced last night is both brutal and unfounded. It is unfounded because trade imbalances are not corrected by imposing tariffs. Economic theory clearly demonstrates the opposite.
In total, France exports 47 billion euros of goods to the United States. Many sectors will be affected by America's import tariffs. Wine and cheese producers, for example, fear their revenues will dip. To deal with these new customs duties, Emmanuel Macron is calling for a coordinated European response. The French president called on European companies to suspend their investments in the United States.
What message would it send if major European players were to invest billions of euros into the American economy while they are imposing tariffs on us?
According to the French Treasury, in 2023, the United States was France's fourth largest export market, behind Germany, Italy, and Belgium.
The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio made his inaugural visit to NATO headquarters, reaffirming America's commitment to the alliance and discussing collective defense strategies with member nations.
Meanwhile, in Brussels, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen on the sidelines of a NATO meeting on Thursday local time for their first high-level talks since President Donald Trump's renewed interest in acquiring Greenland. Rasmussen firmly stated that Denmark would object to any U.S. claims on Greenland, while Rubio reaffirmed the strong relationship between the U.S. and Denmark. Shortly after their meeting, Denmark's Prime Minister, who is also on a visit to Greenland, voiced support on Thursday for enhanced Arctic defense collaboration with the United States, but firmly dismissed U.S. attempts to annex the Arctic island.
Myanmar. The death toll from recent natural disasters has surpassed 3,000, with concerns rising over the spread of diseases due to prevailing heat and rain conditions.
Rescue workers in Myanmar say they have recovered the bodies of at least 30 monks who became trapped under the rubble of a monastery when a deadly earthquake struck the country last week. Aung Sithu Win is the leader of the volunteer rescue team.
I really want to cry as I am pulling out the dead bodies, but I have to stay strong and calm as a leader in front of my team.
The Mandalay Monastery reportedly collapsed on student monks as they were taking an exam. Wynne says, along with the dead, his team found several survivors who were now in hospital. He estimated about 30 bodies still remained under the rubble. The death toll in Myanmar surpassed 3,000 on Thursday, the ruling junta said. Global aid bodies now fear extreme heat and heavy rain could cause widespread disease among survivors camping outside in temperatures around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Tents poured onto Mandalay streets after the quake, as many were too scared of aftershocks to go home. The World Health Organization flagged a risk of cholera in the worst affected areas, such as Mandalay, Sagaing, and the capital, Naypyidaw. Skin disease, malaria, and dengue are also a concern, the agency said. Damage to about half of the healthcare facilities in quake-hit areas worsens the risk.
I'm announcing today that
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday called for more international support and said his aid chief, Tom Fletcher, will be in Myanmar on Friday.
I appeal for rapid, safe, sustained and unimpeded humanitarian access to reach those most in need across the country.
Conditions could get tougher for the relief effort, as weather officials have warned that unseasonal rain is expected in the coming days and could threaten the hardest hit areas. Despite the devastation, Junta Chief Min Aung Hlaing left his disaster-stricken country on Thursday for a rare trip to a regional summit in Bangkok. It is an uncommon foreign visit for a general seen as a pariah by many countries and the subject of Western sanctions and an international criminal court investigation.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. Israeli airstrikes have resulted in the deaths of at least 100 Palestinians in Gaza, including many who were sheltering at school, escalating tensions in the region.
A family mourns in Khan Yunis in the south of Gaza. Others mourn in Gaza City at the northern end of the enclave. From north to south, there's no safe place as Israel pounds Gaza with attacks. No pause since it ended the ceasefire last month. The few remaining hospitals are unable to cope with the casualties, and the suffering goes far beyond the injuries and deaths from the strikes. It's been a month since any humanitarian aid got in. Food is becoming ever more scarce. Israel this week announced a major expansion of its operations. Its ground forces have been advancing into the city of Rafah at the southern tip of Gaza. That's sent hundreds of thousands of people fleeing. Gazans fear it's an attempt to permanently depopulate a part of Gaza. Israel maintains the only thing that can halt its advance is the release of the remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas, but each side is accusing the other of stalling talks. Regional and global leaders are urging them to return to serious negotiations to reinstate the ceasefire and end the war once and for all.
During Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Hungary, he announced in Hungary its intentions to withdraw from International Criminal Court, a move that has garnered and gathered international attention.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing an international arrest warrant. And yet, he received a red carpet welcome in Budapest by Prime Minister Viktor Orban, breaking the country's obligation to bring him into custody. Orban subsequently said he would quit the International Criminal Court. Netanyahu is wanted by the ICC for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Gaza Strip, including starvation as a method of warfare, murder, persecution and other inhumane acts. His trip to Budapest is highly symbolic at a time when his army is expanding its military operations in the enclave. He is expected to spend 4 days meeting with officials trying to garner support. Standing alongside Orban, he too criticised the ICC, saying Israel is fighting a just war with just means. He hailed Hungary's decision. Hungary is the first European country to welcome Netanyahu since the beginning of the war. It is now also set to become the first European country to exit the ICC. However, The Hague on Thursday said that under the Rome Statute, which established the court, signatories must give 1 year's notice to withdraw, meaning Hungary still has a duty to arrest Netanyahu.
Thousands of protesters clashed with police in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, denouncing a surge in gang violence and demanding enhanced government intervention for public safety.
Gunfire rang out in the Haitian capital as protesters marched on government offices. Their demands: more protection by the government from a growing wave of gang violence. Protests started peacefully in Port-au-Prince, but gunfire erupted later on in the afternoon. Schools, banks, and businesses closed for the day. Haiti's gangs control 85% of the capital and parts of the countryside. Violence has displaced over 1 million Haitians from their homes, crippling the economy and leading to massive food and fuel shortages. The gangs are also blamed for widespread killings, extortion, and rape. Many say the government has failed to tackle the unrest, some even accusing it of colluding with the gangs. Violence has intensified recently. 60,000 have been displaced in the past month, and neighborhoods previously spared by the gangs have been targeted. On Tuesday, gunmen conducted a mass jailbreak in the central city of Mirebalais. UN human rights expert William O'Neill described the capital as an open-air prison earlier this month, with the only safe way to enter or leave by helicopter. A Kenyan police force has been deployed to protect civilians, but the mission is underfunded and understaffed. The UN has called for countries to put their support behind the mission before it's too late.
African Union mediators have arrived in South Sudan's capital, Juba, aiming to facilitate talks and prevent the replacement into civil war following recent political tensions.
Dozens of soldiers handed themselves over to the government in South Sudan on Wednesday amid a rift between the country's president and first vice president. The troops, aligned with First Vice President Riek Machar's SPLM-IO party, defected at a ceremony in the capital, Juba.
There is no need for two armies or two commander-in-chief.
The transfer took place as African Union mediators were flying into the country for talks aimed at averting a return to civil war. President Salva Kiir placed his longtime rival Machar under house arrest last week. That, in effect, voided a 2018 peace deal that brought the two wartime rivals into a fragile power-sharing government. Kiir's government has accused Machar of trying to stir up a new rebellion.
He directed them to attack.
His detention follows weeks of fighting in the northern Upper Nile state between the military and a militia known as the White Army. Machar's forces were allied with the White Army during the Civil War, in which hundreds of thousands were killed, but they deny any current links. Former Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga arrived in Juba on behalf of an East African regional bloc on Monday to mediate between the rival camps. He met with Kiir but said he was not allowed to see Machar. Analysts say Kiir appears to be attempting to shore up his position amid discontent within his own political camp. They add that war in neighbouring Sudan has worsened security conditions by leading to an influx of weapons.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. A long-lost gold star medal discovered in a vault has been returned to the family of the US soldiers, bringing closure and honouring his service. Take a look.
A solemn artifact was returned to a soldier's family years after it had gone missing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Joseph William Morrison was a private first class in the U.S. Army during World War I. He was killed in action in France, one of over 100,000 Americans who died in the Great War. Joseph's mother was given the World War I Gold Star Mothers and Widows Pilgrimage Medal after she was able to visit his grave in France in 1933. The medal is given to the immediate families of service members who have died in the line of duty. According to the Department of Defense, the Gold Star symbol came into use during World War I. Families would hang banners with blue stars to represent loved ones serving in the conflict. If that family member died, the blue star was changed to gold. The Morrison family held onto the medal for decades, but eventually it ended up in an unclaimed safe deposit box. From there, it landed in a vault at the Pennsylvania State Treasury. State Treasurer Stacey Garrity explained,
So our vault in Harrisburg safeguards dog tags, pins, medals, ribbons, and so much more from every branch of service in almost every major conflict. So returning these priceless items to veterans and their families is my favorite part of being state treasurer, it truly is. Because as a veteran myself, each return is near and dear to my heart.
Officials tracked down some of Joseph Morrison's relatives and were able to return the medal to them at a gathering in Schuylkill County. And with that, the emblem of their family sacrifice over a century ago is no longer forgotten.
An orphaned cougar cub found malnourished and dehydrated is now on the path to recovery at wildlife rehabilitation centers, capturing hearts with its resilience and charm.
Good kitty. That little cat is a big cat. It's a cougar cub. And wildlife officials in Washington state are giving it all it needs to grow even bigger.
Good boy. What is that stuff?
The cub was spotted by game cameras near Spokane and was confirmed to be an orphan. The state's Department of Fish and Wildlife trapped the baby feline and brought it to a rehab center. Now vets are working to bring the cat back to health as it was malnourished and dehydrated.
Good boy.
The cub is getting special nutrition and care, including tick and deworming medication. The 5-month-old has a ways to grow. Adult male cougars average about 140 pounds and measure up to 8 feet long, nose to tail. And when it's healthier, it will spend its days at the Northwest Trek Wildlife Park in Eatonville, where it already seems to have some admirers.
Hi, handsome. You did so good.
A new viral TikTok trend, the cookie challenge, has parents testing their children's ethical decisions by presenting scenarios involving the distribution of cookies, sparking widespread discussion online.
1, 2 y 3.
It's the viral challenge sweeping TikTok. Introducing #Cookie Challenge. Little ones faced with an ethical dilemma. They get 2 cookies and one of their parents gets none at all.
I got 2.
For some, it's an impossible decision, devastation that someone may be missing out.
I didn't get any. Oh.
Quickly remedied by a sweet gesture. Parents tickled and sometimes relieved by their little one's generosity.
Yay!
Other kids delighted with a double helping, wasting no time eating it all up.
But Mama doesn't have a cookie. What should we do, Lulu?
But with a little nudge can usually rise to the occasion.
Thank you, Lulu.
The question is, do these decisions mean something? Is this a true measure of a child's empathy? Dr. Hartstein says a full understanding of empathy doesn't click until age 3 or 4. I was hungry for answers. Would my kids pass the cookie or keep it all to themselves?
Oh, you're so sweet.
Whether your family member is a cookie monster or a distributor, rest assured that sometimes that's just how that cookie crumbles.
Well, that's a wrap right here on World News Tonight. Stay tuned as we've got Anuradha Wickramasinghe joining you next on Nightly Business Report. Well, with that, leaving you with the likes of a beautiful aspect, but this is scenes of the London State Modern, which was gifted large Joan Mitchell artwork. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Akul Qureshi. Have yourself a great night.